Let us put our palms together. We respectfully invite Jiahhu Shifu to start the class. 3 half bows to Jiahhu Shifu.
1 half bow to the Buddha.
Ami Tutor.
Okay, let us begin our class with 5 minutes of meditation. Okay, let's start over again with the Sutra opening gatha. The Dharma, infinitely profound and subtle, is rarely encountered even in a million kalpas. Now we are able to hear, study, and follow it. May we fully realize the Tathagata's true meaning. Okay, before we start, we continue with the 100 Dharmas. There's something I want to show you, which we mentioned last time, which is a tool. Now, the word's gonna be pretty small on screen, and I don't know how to make it bigger, but what it is a tool from Gemini AI called a Notebook LM. It is a thing that I found pretty useful. What it is that a notebook is when you put some documents, or some links, some information, some YouTube video into it, and it will uh, interact with you by prompts, by Q&A, based on the information you input. So it's kind of like a local expert system. So what we have done is to put all Shifu's lectures on 100 Dharma. We've had 4 lectures now, right? And also Shifu's notes, the notes that I share with you, the lecture notes, into this notebook LM. And so in that way, we are training it to answer questions about the class. So you can think of it as a AI tutor. And we have been practicing, testing this for about a month now, a couple, 2, 3 weeks now. So, so what you do is we give you this link, and you become a user, all right? And on the bottom, you start typing a prompt. For example, I can ask, okay, what I just asked is, what is the latest lecture? Okay, let's see what it says. So it's gonna think, dig into the information, and check. And in a few seconds, it should come back with an answer. All right, so the answer is, I'll read it for you. The latest lecture is lecture 4 of the 100 Dharmas series, which was delivered on January 27th, 2026, last week, which is correct, right? And so I give you the important points. So we talked about volition last week, right? And there are 3 types of volition: deliberative, decisive, active. And then we talk about the 5 specific factors. Remember, they are desire, resolve, mindfulness, samadhi, discernment. All right, so there's a very quick overview of what they are. All right, so now we can ask questions. We can ask the questions. Does anybody want to ask questions about the 100 Dharma class to test it? You can write it. You can write your question in the chat box. Okay. I can say, what are the 3 types of volition? Give me examples. Okay, so it will dig out the answer based on my lecture. If you ask something that's outside of my lectures of this class, then it should come back with saying we don't have that information, okay, instead of taking a guess. So here it goes. It says, in the Yogacara consciousness-only tradition, volition is the mental factor that bends the mind towards an object that triggers the creation of karma. Okay, so that's true. That's based on my notes. According to the sources, volition is broken down into 3 distinct stages of types. Deliberative. This is the initial stage where the mind examines and considers an object or Example, here's the important one. Example, you look at a table filled with different foods and objects. You deliberately ignore the clutter and choose to focus your mind specifically on a cup of tea. Example, when you are in an argument, this is the stage where you examine what the other person said and consider how you might respond. So far so good, right? Decisive volition. Example, after looking at the tea, you make the internal resolution, yes, I'm going to drink this tea now. Yeah, decisive volition. And active, the mental trigger that actually makes your hand reach out and pick up the teacup to bring it to your mouth. So far so good. So that will help you to review the lecture. If you missed the lecture, you want to quickly know what are the important points from last week, you can ask it. You can ask it for more details as well. Okay. Now there's a question, there's an issue, and I want all of you to know. All of you can use it, and your conversation, your prompts, your Q&A with the AI, with the AI tutor, it will be private to your account. So you need a Google account to get into this. It will ask you for your Google account. So you log in with your Google account, and then you can start. Okay, and nobody outside the account. For example, another student asks different set of questions from his account. You won't know it. I won't know it. Okay. Now, this is important. If you ask a question and you think the answer is problematic, you're not sure the AI tutor is giving you the right answer, then what I would like you to do is to record, to copy your prompt, copy your question, and then copy the answer you give and send it via email to us. Okay, send it to us. Send it to the TA, send it to the info email account that we have. That way we can continue to train it on mistakes. So I do not guarantee, we cannot guarantee that the answer will be fully correct. In my testing with it, I find that most of the time, it answers pretty well. Pretty well. I'll give it 80%, 90%. There's a couple times where the answer is less than ideal. They're not wrong, but they're less than ideal. Then I will tell it. I will give it feedback. By giving the feedback, my conversation, giving the feedback to it, it will learn. You will adjust. Okay. My guess is that if you as a user feed it wrong information, it should not take it into account as part of the training. Okay. But because I'm the owner of the account, my interaction with it will continue to improve, hopefully. Okay. Are there any questions? Anybody want to put a question there? So any questions about this tool? No?
Shifu, there is a question in chat.
Okay. What is the function of Laya consciousness? All right. So let's ask, because this is something we talked about before, right? So let me just copy this question. Let's see what it says. What is the function of a Laya consciousness? So it's thinking. All right. So we came back with these, wait, that's glass. Okay. The alaya consciousness, okay, there's a small words you cannot see now, but you'll be able to see on your screen, right? The eighth consciousness acts as the fundamental storehouse or repository of the mind. According to the sources, it is the most foundation. According to the sources are the ones I give, right? Our lectures. It is the most foundational level of consciousness, serving as a vast warehouse that records every experience, action, and thought. Its primary function and characteristics are organized into three main roles. One, the three core functions. repository, field for growth, the growth sprouting of the karma seeds, object of attachment. So it's the object of attachment for the seventh consciousness, right? It's a repository of karma seeds. The second function is the continuity of life. First to come, last to go. Yeah, I won't read all of it. 3, low-level processing, the machine code analogy. So this is constantly going. It's a very low-level processing of the karma influences. So every time we, as soon as we open our eyes, we see, we hear, we talk, we think, we interact with people, we interact with the environment, all of that will or may trigger or influence some of the karma seeds in the eighth consciousness, but the level is too low for us to recognize. Okay? So summary of characteristics, constant change, and transformation. Okay, so I think that's a pretty good summary. Yeah. I think something useful with this tutor is that you can ask it to give you examples. And sometimes you can come up with pretty clever analogies or examples. Okay, let's see. Is this a second question? Sorry, I could not attend any of the sessions. Can I please get a summary of the sessions to get up to speed? Okay, so that is your question. Great. So a question in the chat room is that I could not attend any of the session. Can I please get a summary of the sessions to get up to speed? Okay, let's see what it says. Welcome to the 100 Dharmas series. This course provides a periodic table of the mind, a psychological map of the Yogacara school designed to help practitioners understand their mental states, deconstruct the illusion of permanent self, and ultimately achieve enlightenment. Here's a summary of the first 4 lectures. Okay, so you understood your word session correctly. The first 4 lectures to get you up to speed. 1, the framework, the 5 classes of reality. 2, the 8 kinds of consciousness. 3, mental factors, the ministers, the 5 universally active factors. 4, practical applications changing your life. Okay, so it seems to have mixed lecture 3 and 4 together. All right. But I think the contents are pretty decent. All right. So it seems to be working. All right. Here's another question. For all the previous classes are on YouTube and notes are in the description of each video. Right. Oh, okay. So this person is answering the previous question. Okay. Okay. Ask it, what is the most important insight it can share about the 100 Dharmas? All right. So let's see what he thinks is the most important insight. What is the most important insight it can share about the 100 Dharmas? I'm curious too. The most important insight of the 100 Dharmas is the deconstruction of the self to reveal that all phenomena are empty of a permanent, independent identity. According to the sources, the system acts as a periodic table of the mind, systematically providing that a fixed I cannot be found in our thoughts, our bodies, or even the laws of physics. The 100 Dharmas as a map of awakening. Yes, you can certainly look at our studying of the 100 Dharmas as a map of awakening. The sources explain that while scientists classify millions of species in the physical world, the 100 Dharmas focus on the mind. By analyzing the 100 components, practitioners realize two core truths. One, sentient beings are devoid of self. Two, Dharmas are devoid of self. Okay, all things in the universe, mental or physical, arise only due to temporary causes and conditions. So far, so good. Key insights into consciousness and reality. The 100 Dharmas framework provides several radical insights into how we perceive the world. The world as a projection. The physical world we perceive is not an external reality, but the physical world that we perceive. It's not an external reality, but a projection manifested by our own consciousness. The sources use the metaphor of a movie. The mind is the projector, and the physical world is the light on the screen. The mind as a painter, the sixth consciousness, the thinking mind, acts as an artist. It takes raw neutral data from the senses and paints over it with labels, judgments, and feelings, creating the version of the world we think is real. Does all that sound familiar? Yes? Does, right? Okay, so far so good. The golden triangle of practice, which is something we said last week, right? To stop living in a state of delusion, practitioners must use the three specific mental factors to move out of autopilot mode. One, mindfulness, keeping the mind in the present moment objectively. Two, discernment, investigating reality to eliminate doubt and correct misguided views. Three, samadhi, concentration, absorbing the mind in an object to prevent distraction. All right, and the last one, the mechanism of change. A vital practical insight shared in the sources is the relationship between our mental factors. The relationship between our mental factors. We can transform our lives by understanding this chain reaction. Okay, and then we'll learn more about that as we continue with our studies of the 51 mental factors, right? Okay, so I think that was pretty good. So the difference between this Tutor versus, say, ChatGPT or Gemini or any other regular LLM, large language model, is that this ChatGPT is very general. So it can take its sources from all over the place. And some of them may be relevant and some of it may be not. Some of it may be correct and some of it may be wrong. So this way, if we're forcing the model, the AI model to focus, to take its source and answers from a set of information we feed it. So you can certainly use this for yourself. If you're studying a subject, right? You can if you have a PDF of a book, you can put it in there and ask the same questions. What are the main points? And so on. What's the first chapter? What's the third chapter about? So that becomes a quick way to get an overview of a book, right? And to interact with it, to ask it questions. If you are taking a class, in school, you can input all the source material into that and becomes a uh, study guide for you. Right? So that's something we can do. And if you create your own notebook, this can also generate voice podcast and uh, text summaries, which you can save. Right now, you cannot save this because you're not the owner. I'm the owner. So you can only do this, asking questions and get feedback. But if you create your own notebook, okay, for example, you can create your own 100 Dharma study guide. You take the YouTube links, put it in there, serve with Google Doc, serve with Word file, the lecture notes into it, then you can do things like creating a podcast of the first lecture. Okay, and it's actually pretty good. I listened to this to review it myself, what I talked about a couple of weeks ago. Okay, all right. So, well, there's some more question. Where can we find this AI tool? You just type Notebook LM. Notebook LM. All right. You need to open up a web page. That's the app. That's the app, right? If you don't have a Google Gemini AI subscription, you can still use it. It give you some, you can still use it. You can still create notebooks and use it regularly. There are limitations on how many notebooks you can create and how many sources you can put in there. Okay, so I have a subscription, so we can create many notebooks with many sources in there. On YouTube, under description of Sue's lectures. Okay, good. So I guess we included that. Did we include this link to this tool in our YouTube lectures? We should. Okay, well, I think
Yes.
we. Okay, great. Thanks. What is the difference between resolve and discernment? Can you give me an example from everyday life? Let's try this. One more question, right? And then we go on with our today's topic. One more test. What is the difference between resolve and discernment? And can you give me an example from everyday life? Okay. I think that is a question we asked last time, right? We talked about last time. In the Yogacara framework, the five specific factors, the difference lies in the stage of the mental process. Discernment is the active investigation used to eliminate doubt, while resolve is the firm conviction or certainty that follows once a decision is made. So we investigate the situation, right? That's discernment. And then at some point, you may come to a resolve. Okay, you come to determine this is my understanding of it. So I give you a table, discernment, the act of investigating, analyzing, and discriminating as object or situation. That's directly from my notes. The goal is to eliminate doubt. Resolve, the state of definite decision and firm conviction. The key difference, process versus conclusion. That's pretty good. Process versus conclusion. All right. Examples, the grocery store. Discernment, you see a strange leafy green. I think we use that exact example, right? You see a strange leafy green in the produce aisle. You inspect it, compare it to your memory of spinach or kale, and analyze its texture to figure out what it is. That's discernment, right? Resolve. You look at the price tag or recognize the leaf pattern and think, this is definitely bok choy. It's not kale, it's bok choy, Chinese veggie. At that moment, your doubt is gone and you have resolve, a firm conviction in your identification. All right. The office encounter. The office encounter. Discernment. You walk into the break room and two coworkers stop talking immediately. You begin to investigate the situation. Are they hiding something? Was it a coincidence? Resolve. You reach the conclusion. They were definitely talking about me. This is your resolve. Note that the source warns that the resolve can be incorrect if your initial discernment was misguided. If your discernment was misguided, the resolve could be incorrect. And thus, we do that all the time. Another example, studying Buddhism. You listen to a lecture on the Hundred Dharmas and analyze whether the no-self theory makes logical sense. Yeah, so in your discernment, you listen to Shifu and you say, is what Shifu say true? Is what Vasubandhu, Master Vasubandhu say true? Can I believe that? Resolve. You reach a point of conviction where you say, I believe these teachings are true and beneficial for me. So I decide to continue with the class. All right. Okay, so good. Let's take this away. Okay. It's an interesting prospect to have an illusionary computer consciousness explain my illusionary consciousness to me. All right, we're getting quite zen here, all right? Okay, so last time we basically finished group 2. We talked about the 5 specific. Remember the 5 universal, which means they are in every experience right now, including now. The 5 specific mental states, they are not there all the time, but we use them very frequently. We often frequently have desire or wish to do something. We come to resolve. We do that all the time. You know, when you listen to Shifu, I say, we have this AI tool. You come to understand, oh, the AI tool. That's a resolve. Or you say, you may think, what is that? I don't understand what it is. It's out of my experience. So you do not have a result there, right? So for most of you who are not familiar with how Noble Gallium works, uh, this you may be still pretty vague, but then you can go try it yourself. You get a better idea, and you get better resolve. Yeah. Another is mindfulness. Mindfulness, concentration, and discernment, right? So we are already familiar with these terms. Okay, I don't believe we had the time to go through all the exercises for that, for universal and specific. So it will be good to do that sometime. But let us go on to the next group. So remember, there are 51 mental factors. Group 1, universal, there are 5. Group 2, 5 specifics. Group 3, 11 wholesome mental factors. Now, this is important. Well, all of them are important. So this is good to know. The 11 wholesome dharmas are faith, diligence, shame, embarrassment, non-greed, non-anger, non-ignorance, serenity, vigilance, equanimity, and non-harm. So we're going to look at the first 4 today. Okay. Now, if the words on the screen are still too small for you, tell me in the chat box. I can magnify it even more. But you don't really have to read everything, just listen. All right, so what are wholesome dharmas? Wholesome dharmas are the mental factors, the states of mind, that we have, that we generate, that will help lead to a type of volition, a will, that lead to good karma. So good karma begins with thoughts. And these thoughts primarily responsible for good karma are wholesome dharmas, the 11 wholesome dharmas. You see, discernment, volition, these things, they are neither good or bad. They're not always good or bad, right? They judge and they help the process. But it's the wholesome dharmas, the wholesome mental factors, the wholesome thoughts that drives the discernment, that drives the resolve, that drives the mindfulness, that drives for example, you think I should do some meditation every day. Yeah, that will be a wholesome dharma. And that will lead you to actually sit down sometime to sit down sometimes. Okay, I'm gonna set aside 15 minutes to do meditation. That's volition. That's volition. Yeah. So the wholesome Dharma drives the volition to sit down. That will be wholesome Dharma. But in the meditation, you fall asleep, you doze off. That will be unwholesome Dharma, which was something we'll talk about in the next group. All right, so just quickly, karma. What is karma? We explained before in the Heart Sutra lectures. But just very quickly, karma basically is a deed or deeds, action. Could be a mental action. You think about, think about things. You think about wholesome things. You think about tomorrow I'm going to help my coworkers to complete a project on time. I'm gonna do my best to get it done. Or I'm going to volunteer. I'm going to be volunteer for Shifu. I'm gonna ask Shifu what Shifu needs, things to do, and then we'll help. All right, so those be wholesome thoughts. So that's mental, and there's also verbal, right? You say good things. You say things that comfort people. You say things that take people out of their fear. All right, so these will be you say things that give people wisdom, knowledge, wisdom, insight. That would be wholesome dharma, wholesome speech, karma. And you do things. You actually, for example, today, a family of three, an old couple and their son, they came to Prajna Forest Monastery and worked basically all day on the gardens. They work on the gardens all day. Right, so that's physical action. Physical action. So these actions, these deeds are karma. Karma is just the name for that in Sanskrit, right? But when we think of karma today in the West, uh, what do we think about? We don't think about just deeds or action. We also think about what's gonna come back to us, right? We think about associate that with good karma and bad karma. But actually, karma can be neutral as well. There's good karma, bad karma, neutral karma. Neutral karma leads to uh, neutral results, neutral consequences. Good karma will lead to blessings, good fortune, blessings, merits that will come back to us. Bad karma will lead to suffering, dukkha, dissatisfaction, uh, unhappiness, or suffering, pain, uh, coming back to us, in the future. Okay. All right, so that's karma because there's a law of causality, cause and effect, the laws of causality. When in the West, when we think of karma, we're actually thinking about, we're actually referring to the law of causality, the law of causality. What goes around comes around. Yeah, you reap what you sow. So there's a reference to the Heart Sutra, Lecture 23, where I also talked about karma. All right. So there are two types of goodness. We're talking about good, wholesome, right? There are two types of goodness, defiled and undefiled, right? Defiled means tainted, contaminated, not so clean. But how can wholesome Dharma be defiled? Is that a self-contradiction? Let's see what it is. Defiled goodness or impure goodness, conditioned goodness, mundane goodness. That means the wholesome karma, even though it leads to happiness or benefits to others, is still subject to impurity or contamination. Okay? For example, you go to a orphanage and you bring some food for the kids, for the orphans. All right, so you spread the food on the table. Say, kids, come take it. All right, so that's a wholesome dharma, right? Wholesome karma. You go there, you donate food, and the kids start fighting for the food. Let's say, suppose they start fighting with. So they are fighting. Their greed take over, and then they fight with each other about the food instead of sharing with each other. Okay, so and then when you see that, you the donor, when you see that, you get upset. You get upset. Hey kids, why do you do that? Okay, you get upset. There's anger. So even though it is a good deed, it is contaminated or impure. Okay, so many, or most of the types of giving good deeds can be contaminated. What is the source of that contamination? Well, what is the source of that impurity? What do you think is the source? The source is the self, right? It's the ego self. That's the source. The source is the ego self. I want this. I want more. I'm giving. I'm good. I'm better than you. So these thoughts can still occur even though you're doing good deeds. So these are called the mundane goodness or worldly goodness, which is common. Happens to everyone. Everybody does that. It's very common. So we should realize that even wholesome karma can lead to some unwholesome deeds. So that's the nature of wholesome, worldly, mundane wholesomeness. Okay? Because we still have selfishness. Okay, the second type is called undefiled goodness. Completely pure. No chance of being defiled, no chance of being contaminated. It's pure goodness. Do they exist? Does such thing exist? Pure, unconditioned, supramundane goodness. Supramundane is outside of this world, outside of the mundane world, or transcending mundane world. They are selfless, egoless, lead to lasting benefit of transcendence of death. That is nirvana. So undefiled goodness is the kind of karma, the kind of deeds that lead to nirvana, that leads to ending of birth and death. Okay, so what would be examples of undefiled goodness? For example, right now, we are trying, we're aiming for this undefiled goodness because we are studying the Hundred Dharmas, and the Hundred Dharmas is from the very beginning. The Buddha said, all Dharmas are void of a self. So we are learning what does it mean for I, as a person, for things that I pursue, things that I like. What does it mean that these things are devoid of a self? And we do it by learning about the mental factors, how the mind works, how our thoughts work with each other. This is what we mean by deconstructing the mind. So in other words, the aim of 100 Dharmas is for all of us to understand enough about our mind to achieve enlightenment and eventually reaching nirvana. Okay, so right now, as we studying the Buddha Dharma, as we studying, does that mean that it's pure, undefiled goodness? Well, we cannot be certain. We cannot be certain yet. Okay, there may be moments, of pure concentration, pure egoless self. But then there may be other moments where the ego or the self, come back, and we are affected by it too. Okay, so but it's good to know that there are these two types, right? So whenever people say, oh, all religions are the same, they just teach people to do good. You heard that before, right? So when people say that, when the person say that, uh, probably what that person is thinking of is, oh, the function of religion is basically teach people to be good people. And what does it mean to be good people? To create good karma, to, make donations, to help others, and, make the world peaceful. Those are important. Those are really good. But those are still defiled goodness. The person may not know the concept of completely pure goodness, the kind that transcends the worldly death, and leads you to nirvana. Okay? Okay, so these 11 wholesome mental states are not associated with all eight consciousness, nor do they exist in all mental activities, right? So they don't exist all the time. So that means we can generate it. If we want to be a good person, we should actively generate these wholesome dharmas, these wholesome thoughts. It's something we can do or not. We can decide we want to do this or not. Okay? So when your parents say, be a good person, that's what they're saying. Generate these wholesome thoughts. All right, let's look at the first one. Faith. All right, so there's a definition of faith. Deep is this. Oh no, this is not a definition, sorry. This is a quote. This is a quote from Nagarjuna's treatise on the perfection of great wisdom. Deep is the seed of, deep is the sea, ocean. Deep is the sea of Dharma, entered by faith, crossed by wisdom. That's a beautiful line. That's a very important and well-known line in Chinese. 佛法大海，信为能入，智为能渡。Deep is the sea of Dharma, entered by faith, crossed by wisdom. So this is the analogy of the ocean. Okay, the ocean. The Buddhist Dharma is the ocean. You can enter the Dharma ocean, the vast treasure trove of the Dharma, the Buddha's teaching. You can enter it by faith. It takes faith to enter. But then faith alone is not enough. You need to cross the ocean means you master it. To cross it, you need wisdom. And wisdom is what? It's right discernment. We learned about discernment already, right? One of the 5 specific discernment. Right discernment. Discernment applied correctly will help you master the Dharma and get across the ocean of the wisdom of the Buddha, right? So faith is like having hands when you enter a treasure mountain, a mountain filled with treasure. You can freely take anything with you if you have faith. In other words, Shifu has a lot of teaching. There's a lot of Buddhist books out there. There's a lot of scriptures out there. That's the treasure mountain. But if you don't have faith, you don't take anything from it. You don't get anything from it. If you have faith, you can take anything you want. So a disciple in Taiwan, she's in our Diamond Sutra class. I'm concurrently teaching a Diamond Sutra class in Chinese. She said, 师父, I so appreciate your questions that you attach at the end of each lesson. Yeah, I will listen to each lecture 3 times and then discuss with my friends all these Dharma questions. These questions are listed. So she has deep faith. She has a lot of faith. And then she's trying to absorb as much as she can. Okay, so that takes faith, right? Faith in Shifus, faith in the Buddha, faith in the Dharma, faith that it will help you with your life. So without faith, you enter the treasure mountain of the Dharma, but are unable to take anything with you. You leave empty-handed, basically. So this line has become a idiom, a Chinese idiom. 如入宝山，空手而回 has become a popular culture. Everybody has heard of this. Every Chinese has heard of this line. You enter a treasure mountain, you leave empty-handed. It means, oh, what a shame. You could have taken so much, but then you let it go. Yeah, you didn't take advantage of it. So that is the importance of faith. If you have faith, you have the opportunity to get anything from the treasure mountain. So the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Paths, the 12 links of interdependence, the 100 Dharmas, the Diamond Sutra, the Lotus Sutra, the Shurangama Sutra, the Nagarjuna's teaching, all of that, these are incredible treasures. You have faith, it will drive you to absorb, to take it with you, to become part of yours, part of your wisdom. All right, the demonstration of consciousness only. This book, this classic book on the Yogacara, on the Chinese Yogacara school, written by Master Xuanzang. Who is Master Xuanzang? Does anybody heard this name? Master Xuanzang? You have, right? Who is she? Who is he? He's the translator of this text, right? He's he lived in the Tang Dynasty, which is like the 7th century. He walked on foot to India from China, almost died so many times along the way because he has crossed the Gobi Desert and so on, encountered bandits who tried to take his life, almost died out of thirst and so on and so on. Anyway, so he finally made it to India. He stayed there for like 17 years and then become a Buddhist master, respected by the kings of India at the time. And then he brought back a lot of scriptures. He translated probably 1/4 of all the Buddhist scriptures in Chinese. Single-handedly translated about 1/4 of the thousands and thousands of scrolls of Buddhist scriptures. Anyway, so he compiled this book called Demonstration of Consciousness Only, the main textbook on Yogacara school in Chinese. Very, very difficult to read. Very academic. That's his style. His style is very academic. Anyway, so its nature, the nature of faith, is that of purification of mind. So faith can purify your mind, the right faith, which is a profound acquiescence towards and joyful desire for realities, virtues, and abilities. So it helps you acquire virtue, the understanding of desire, of reality, and the associated abilities, abilities that the Bodhisattva and the Buddha has. It's activities that are counteracting faithlessness, enjoying the good. Enjoying the good. Do you enjoy being good? Some people do. Some people don't care. People who don't care lack faith. So here are the three aspects of faith. I'll put it in a plain words for you. Faith in reality, which means the truth as taught in the Dharma. So you have faith in that the Dharma teach you the truth, the reality, the true reality, as it should be, the suchness, not as our ego self, our deluded self think. Faith in virtue, referring to the faith that the three jewels represents true virtues. The three jewels, Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha, they are the source of true virtue. Okay, so Buddha himself exemplifies virtue. Ever since he's a young prince, his mind was virtuous. He only thought of being good to people. Yeah, he did not hate people who try to cheat him or hurt him. Right? And when he became a monk, wandering monk, searching for the truth, he was searching for the truth in order to help people out of their dukkha. He wanted to alleviate the dukkha, the suffering from all sentient beings, all people. And that's why he aimed for supreme enlightenment. And when he achieved it, he devoted the rest of his life to teaching that wisdom. The rest of his life. Yeah. And the teaching is called the Dharma. Right, so Dharma show you what's the true source of virtue. You see, different philosophies or different religions have a different idea of the source of virtue. Yeah, for Christianity, for example. Well, I don't pretend to understand it, right, or to speak authoritatively, but this is my understanding. The source of virtue is God. Now, God is the source of virtue. And then God gave the Ten Commandments. So these are the rules of the rule of ethics, you're supposed to follow. So it comes from the words of God. All right, in Buddhism, what is the source of virtue? In Buddhism, the source of virtue is enlightenment. So Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha all revolves around enlightenment, right? When you're enlightened to the true nature of reality, then you will not say or do anything. You will not create a karma that will harm people, that will harm any sentient being. It's not because Buddha say you should do this or you should not do that. The Buddha teach the 5 precepts. No killing, no stealing, no sexual misconduct. That's not a command. It's not a command. These are the 5 commandments. They are a guidance. They are the principles you choose to uphold yourself. You choose to follow by yourself. See? So you have to choose to observe the 5 precepts yourself. Shifu just give you the opportunity. So in March, I think March 14 or 15, I'm going to hold a 3 refugees and the 5 precepts ceremony in I think in Milpitas. So you can sign up for it if you haven't taken the 3 refugees, or if you want to take the 5 precepts, you haven't had the chance to take the 5 precepts. So I cannot force you. I'm not saying you guys, you must observe. That would be a commandment. That's not how it works in Buddhism. I said, let's follow the 5 precepts. No killing, no sex, no no lying, no sexual misconduct, no intoxication, okay, no cheating on your spouse. All right, so you choose to observe it yourself. And that is the form of virtue. But the source is the purity of mind from enlightenment. When you're enlightened, when you're freed of the self, when you get rid of the false self, you have no selfishness. You have no desire to harm anyone. So it's impossible for that person to create bad karma. That's the source of virtue. Okay, so you have faith that this is the way it is. Faith in abilities, the profound faith that one has the ability to attain perfect enlightenment by practicing the Dharma. Right? So at the beginning of this class, we did a 5-minute meditation. Remember what Shifu said then? Shifu said, have faith that you can do meditation. You have the ability to achieve samadhi. You need that faith. If you don't have the faith, you sit here and you think, I can't do it, I can't do it. Meditation is too hard. I'm not going to be able to achieve samadhi. Guess what? When you think like that, you won't achieve it. So you have not attained deep concentration yet. Then you need faith. If you had an experience of deep concentration from meditation, then you have faith already. You know that you can do it. You have faith in yourself already. But before that, before you had that deeper experience from meditation, you need faith. You need faith in your own ability. And you have faith that the Shifu is teaching the right method. And so this faith will keep you going, even though you have not experienced it yet. That's faith. Now, the right faith is different from a belief. A belief may be correct or incorrect. Right? So a Christian may believe in God, and a Gnostic or atheist may believe that there's no God. That's a belief. A belief may be correct or incorrect. Rational or irrational. People have irrational beliefs, right? But some beliefs are based on rational thinking. So it may be wholesome or unwholesome or neutral. But the right faith or trust in the Dharma is faith built upon correct observation, discernment, and experience. All right. So the faith that we're talking about today, here, wholesome Dharma, the wholesome factor, we are referring to the right faith. It's built upon correct observation, discernment, experience. So from a non-believer in Buddhism, which I was, right? I did not have any faith in Buddhism. What? It's not that I don't believe it. I was new, it was not part of my experience as I was growing up. And it was like after I graduated from college, that's when I had a chance to actually read about the Four Noble Truths and other teachings, right? So from having no faith over a period of 8 years, where I developed my faith. It is a long process. I read it, I think about it. Does it make sense? I examine it. I use that perspective from the Dharma to look at the world, to look at human interactions, to look at the social situations, And then time and time and time again, it helped me to see the way it is better, help me to resolve my doubts, help me understand why people behave the way they do. It was from the Dharma that I read, I think about, and I use that perspective to see, to observe. So that's from my own experience. I gradually, over the period of years, developed that faith. And I would say that at this point, my faith in the Dharma is unshakable. So you may be at various different stages of the faith. So this is the faith, the kind of faith we're talking about, not blind faith. Not you don't not the kind of faith you have when you just hear somebody say, "Oh, Buddha is great. He's speaking the truth, so you should believe it." Okay, so let's examine the different levels or kinds of faith. We can say there are four levels: new faith, right faith, deep faith, and real faith. What is new faith? New faith is when you first, it's the beginning of having faith in Buddhism. So looking back into my own past, when I encounter, well, in my search for meaning and truth in my life, I first encountered Christianity, I encountered Western philosophy, and then so on and so on. So none of those gave me faith. So I did not develop faith in those explorations because I had doubts that they cannot answer. So eventually I came upon Buddhism, and I still have doubts. I have a lot of questions too. But then think about it, when I think about it deeply, one by one by one by one, my questions, my doubts were resolved. All right. So at the beginning, you may have new faith. You have new faith. It's a newly acquired faith. It's shaky. Yeah. So I know that the people, for myself, I come to Buddhism because I study it. I study it, I think about it. But there are other people who come to Buddhism because a friend said, you should come. This will bring you good karma. By bowing to the Buddha, then you generate a lot of good karma, which is not untrue. It still works, but then you don't know why. So so you have faith. Okay, you even take the three refuges, and then you come to you bow to the Dharma. You're respectful of the Shifu, and then you may even take the course, but it's shaky, and you may lose. Shaky means that you may lose your faith. For example, you believe that by believing the Buddha, becoming a Buddhist, the Buddha will bless you and protect you. But then you do an investment and you lost a lot of money. You say, this is not true. I believe in the Buddha. He didn't protect me, right? So that could happen. So this is the first stage of shaky faith. The second stage is right faith. So how do you go from new faith to right faith? It's based on understanding and knowledge of the Dharma. So that's what we're doing. When I began, there's nobody to teach me. I didn't know where to find teaching. So I had to try to get a Dharma book and then read on my own and try to understand myself. But now we have these courses, right? So Shifu has these courses, and then you have a chance to ask questions back and forth, back and forth, so that you have a better opportunity to gain the knowledge and real understanding of the Dharma. So when you do understand and you agree, yeah, this makes a lot of sense. This help me, this help me open up my eyes and see what's going on in this world. This help me understand human interactions and then how I can improve my relationship with my family and then the coworkers and boss and so on. This help me uh, learn how to create good karma and get rid of bad karma. All right. So now your faith is based on understanding. It's rational faith. So that faith is rooted faith. You don't easily unpull that, right? You don't easily destroy or uproot that faith. But still, it's not absolutely firm, unshakable yet. Because there are some teaching in Buddhism that's very deep, like the deeper samadhis and the enlightenment experience. The emptiness of the self, that's difficult to believe and difficult to experience for yourself. They are what's called profound Dharma. The profound Dharma is the emptiness of the self. And that's not easy to generate faith. So the third level, which is deep faith, comes from having gained experiential validation of the profound Dharma. In other words, you are enlightened, you're awakened to the true self, to the no self. You understand, you completely understand what it means to have no self, which is not a negation of your being here. Right? So you have no doubt about this teaching. It's like your own knowledge. It's not Shifu teaching something difficult or profound or external. It becomes your own internal knowledge. Okay, is what it is. This is what it is, exactly as it is. And you know that only a person who have experienced it can say this, can teach this Dharma. So the Buddha can teach this Dharma and unveil this Dharma only because he's been there. He's there. He's achieved supreme enlightenment. Otherwise, nobody can come up with this teaching. Right. So deep faith is unshakable. In other words, many of you probably come to Buddhism because of Shifu, Jiahhu Shifu, right? Or some of you have learned from other Shifus and other books, and then you wind up here. If one day me, Jiahhu Shifu, said, "Guess what? I don't have faith in Buddha anymore. I think it's wrong. Don't believe in it." If one day I tell you that, it's gonna be shocking, right? It's gonna be shocking. But those of you who have deep faith, you say, "Okay, Shifu, stop joking. No matter what you say, even if you don't believe in it yourself, I still believe in it. I still have the faith." That's unshakable. Okay. If you have a dream, and Buddha come to you in the dream and says, "I was just playing with your mind." There's no Buddha. There's no enlightenment. Okay. Is it? Okay, stop joking. You're not gonna fool me. You are the devil in disguise. Okay, so that's unshakable faith. All right, finally, the last stage is called real faith. Real faith is when one is awakened and therefore directly experience the truthfulness of Dharma. In other words, when you are there already, that's not actually faith anymore. So the last stage of faith is not faith anymore because you are there already. You experienced it yourself. You've done it yourself. You have been there. You have achieved that enlightenment. You have achieved that samadhi. You have destroyed the ego self. You know for sure, 100% direct experience. So that direct experience is what we call real faith. So that's the final stage of faith is no need for faith because it's true. So faith is help you get across the ocean, get there. When you get there, you need the boat. You don't need the boat anymore. It's just your own inner knowledge. Okay? Okay, question for you. Blind faith. How to avoid the pitfalls of blind faith? Especially blind faith in religion or spirituality. How can we avoid the pitfalls of blind faith? How can we avoid blind faith? So here, faith is the wholesome factor. So we're definitely not talking about blind faith. But what is blind faith? How can we avoid that? How can people avoid that? Anybody want to answer that? Have a take on it? Write in your chat room. How can we avoid blind faith? How do you know that your faith in the Dharma is not blind faith? Test what you are learning. Yes, definitely test what you're learning. Don't need to believe anything I say. But when you test it and it's true, then you should. You should believe, you should faith. Okay? To continue to investigate. Yes, continue to investigate. And question. You should be able to question. If somebody says, you gotta believe in me, no questions asked. You cannot doubt me. You cannot question me. You cannot question anything I say or anything I do. Then that's an alarm signal. Be alerted. Okay? That's irrational. All right, you need a framework of discernment. Question? You need a framework of discernment? Yes. You need to use discernment. You need to use discernment in an objective and mindful way. Remember Shifu last time said there's the golden triangle, discernment, mindfulness, concentration. What's the relationship? Concentration help you see clearly, more clearly. That's the discernment. Help you go deeper in the discernment. If you don't have concentration, your mind is here and there all over the place. Your discernment ability will be superficial. You may be easily fooled. For example, you read something on the internet. So, for example, you get a message in your mailbox. Hey, guess what? You won the lottery. You won $1 million. It's here waiting for you. All you have to do is to, but we need to do some processing. So send me $1,000 to process it, and then you will get. So these kind of uh, uh, cheating letters, right? So you need discernment. But you know what? People get cheated out of millions and millions of dollars every year from these obviously false messages. So that's poor discernment. Right? So concentration, discernment, and then mindfulness. Yeah, mindfulness. So these work well together to develop the right framework for discernment. To judge whether what you believe in is makes sense or not. All right, somebody said right understanding. Yes, you need to understand. So that's what Shifu stressed on. Stressed is right faith is based on understanding. And right understanding is the first of the Eightfold Path, right? Meditation, both concentrative and contemplative. Yes, good. Meditation will help. Okay, good. So you can think about that or discuss among your friends. Role of faith. Another question. Describe the ways or areas in which faith plays an important role. Which field or discipline do not require faith at all? So more than just faith in the Dharma. Now, obviously, faith is crucial for all religions, but outside the religions, outside of the Dharma, what other field or areas faith also play an important role? What do you think? Write in the chat room. Your doctor, faith in your doctor, yeah. You need to have faith in your doctor. If you don't have faith in your doctor, you're not gonna follow his instructions. You're not gonna take his pills that he prescribe. Then you might as well change your doctor. So yeah, you need to develop a faith in your doctor. Your faith in your therapist. So if a person is going through therapy, psychotherapy, for example, um, probably the first, second, or third session, you're still not sure, but if you continue, that means you have faith, right, in your therapist. Otherwise, you'll be just wasting money and time. Faith in your country. That's a good thing to think about. Do you have faith in your country? So what is the government? What is your government supposed to do for you? Why do you need a government? It means that the government has some duties to its citizens, probably. The government provides some protection or resources, some benefits to you, right? So have faith in your country is important to think about. It's not automatic. It's not automatic. Just because you're born in this country or that nation, that means you should have blind faith. You should still examine, right? Okay. Somebody said not in our current government. It is very stressful for many people that we observe our leaders in the past, not just this government, in the previous government, both parties can make you lose faith in our leaders or the election process that produced these leaders. Yeah, it's cause for a lot of stress for people. Mail delivery and postal service. Okay, you have faith. If you think about it, yeah, I haven't thought about it, but yeah, it's a. If you think about it, you do have faith in the mail delivery service, whether it's the U.S. Postal Service or Federal Express or other online shopping venues, right? You put the money in, or you put your important letter or package in, and you have faith that it will get delivered most of the time. You also know that sometimes mistake can happen and it doesn't get delivered. But still, you use it again and again. So that requires faith. Okay, anything else? before you have faith in your doctor, you need to make sure that the doctor you find is a good doctor. It's not always easy to assess, right? Whether this is a good doctor. Right? Faith that there's goodness in all dharmas, sentient and otherwise. This also helps with mental health. Faith that any sentient being, any person has some goodness inside. That will help with your mental health. if you don't believe that people have goodness in them, you may live quite miserably, right? Okay, so one answer I was looking for, I didn't see you guys say, is faith in science. Does science require faith? Is there a role of faith in science? Those of you in the audience, if you are a scientist or you're a tech person, if you're an engineer, does it require faith in your field? It does. It does. Right? Science keep changing, yes. Science keep changing. So science, you should know that science makes no claim that what we teach you is the truth. Did you know that? So Buddha says, what I teach you is the truth. Science actually makes no claim that this is the truth. Science knows that it's in a state of darkness, trying to get to the light. So it discovered that principle and discovered this law, but then sometimes the law gets modified. For example, when Newton discovered his famous laws of force, right? The Newton's laws. Newton's first principle and the second principle, everybody believed it. That was the truth, right? At least many, many people. But then Einstein comes along. He said, Newton's laws are not absolutely correct. It is actually a generalization. So Einstein's theory of relativity actually modified. It's not that Newton was wrong. It's just not precise enough. So Einstein's equations included Newton's equations as a general case. But there are situations where Newton's laws doesn't work exactly as stated. That's where relativity comes in, where time and space can bend. That is not in Newton's laws, right? Okay, so Newton's law gets modified. And there are many other examples where previously believed by scientists are modified. So if you're a true scientist, you have faith in science. It's a faith. But you also know that what you learn now may not be always true. Sometime later, it could be changed. Yeah. And it's faith in science that keeps scientists going to discover more laws or more knowledge. Okay, so it's something to think about. Another question, levels of faith. Of the 4 levels of faith in the Buddha Dharma, at what level do you feel you are at? Are you at a newbie level, a new faith, or do you think you have the right faith? Or do you think you already achieved deep faith? You have a pretty good understanding of emptiness of self. That you have no doubt that is true. Even though you may not have achieved enlightenment yet, but you, based on your rational judgment, your discernment, that the teaching of emptiness of the self is true. Okay, whatever you think you are. Science is impermanent then? Science is impermanent? Well, you see, put it this way. If we look at the example of Newton's laws and Einstein's laws, Newton's laws does not describe reality as it is, or even force exactly as it is. And Newton's law deal with force, right? It doesn't describe force exactly. And that's why there's room for improvement. So when Einstein came along, he had a new idea of like what gravitation is. Gravitation is one of the primary forces, right? Okay, but that doesn't mean Newton's wrong. Newton's laws still work really well for everyday interactions, for everyday mechanism, for everyday engineering, because the places where Newton's law doesn't work is in extreme cases like quantum level and then star level, the galaxy level, right, or light speed level. So in most everyday cases, Newton's law work. So you think of these laws as an attempt to describe reality, but it never gets there. I think that would be a proper view of scientific laws. It never gets there, but it can come pretty close, relatively. Okay, why? Because according to the Buddha, the true reality cannot be described in words or concepts. You just have to experience it yourself. So whatever you can describe using words and concepts, including scientific laws, they are approximations. Newton's law is approximation. Einstein's laws are not complete either. Einstein's theory of relativity cannot describe the quantum level phenomena. So that's why we need quantum physics, right? But quantum physics, is that complete? No. I don't think any quantum physicist will say quantum physics is complete and done, completely solved. So that's why it still needs faith. Let's take a 5-minute break. You can either meditate, you can either take a break and drink some water, or we can review what we learned so far. We still have less than less than half an hour. but I want to pause for a while before we go on to the next one, diligence. We'll cover diligence today. Okay, we'll take a 5-minute break. Okay, let us look at the second of the 11 wholesome factors. The second is diligence, or virya. Those of you who are familiar with the 6 paramitas are familiar already with virya. Diligence, also translated as effort or vigor, it is one of the crucial factors in the attaining Buddha enlightenment. The importance of diligence is stressed in many lists in the sutras, such as the 7 factors of enlightenment. Shifu talked about the 7 factors of enlightenment in the half-day meditation videos. The half-day meditation videos where we teach, where Shifu teach mindfulness of Dharma. Mindfulness of Dharma. I explain these in detail. Okay, so in the 7 factors of enlightenment, there's diligence. The Noble Eightfold Path, there's diligence, right? Right understanding, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right diligence, or right effort, right diligence, right mindfulness, right samadhi. See, we are becoming quite familiar with all these terms now, right? Right understanding has to do with discernment, right? Discernment, right understanding, right thought. We're talking about thoughts now. All the 51 factors, they are thoughts, right thoughts. So obviously, right thought will be wholesome. Will be wholesome thoughts, right? And right speech, right action, right livelihood, right mindfulness. And we talked about mindfulness last time. And the right samadhi, we talked about concentration last time. And now diligence. So in the Heart Sutra class a couple years ago, in the lecture notes and lectures 27 and 28, we'll talk about the Four Noble Truths, including the Eightfold Path and diligence. Okay. So a classic statement on the practice of diligence is called the 4 right exertions. So we exert, we put our effort into this place. What place? These 4 places. Prevent the unarisen evil. Eradicate the evil already arisen. Awaken the unrisen good. Nurture the good already arisen. Yeah. So if some bad thoughts, evil, begin with unwholesome thoughts, right? Unwholesome thoughts, these are the ones we'll look at in the next category when we are done with the wholesome factors. So these unwholesome thoughts lead to unwholesome speech and unwholesome action or evil. So what if it has not happened? Prevent it. Prevent it. If it's already happened, so you already have some bad thoughts, like angry at somebody or greedy about some pleasure, some worldly pleasure, or whatever. So eradicate it, get rid of it, take steps to get rid of it. That will be diligence. Awaken the unrisen good. So when we study the 11 wholesome factors, we can examine which ones I have pretty easily, which ones I can generate pretty easily. I all have these good thoughts, but which ones I'm pretty weak at. Now, there must be some of the 11 factors that you are kind of weak. How can I strengthen it? How can I develop it more? Awaken the unrisen good. Nurture the good already arisen. So if it's already there, For example, you are all participating in the class with me week after week. Yeah, we have 37 people on in the Zoom with us, and probably a few more on YouTube right now. So you're here week after week. That's diligence. Now you can nurture this further by doing what? Well, by after the class, at the end of the Zoom meeting, you examine the questions that Shifu provided. You think about it, right? You put some of the meditation practice or daily practice to work. You actually do it. That will be to nurture, to enhance, to grow even more that wholesome deeds. So we keep this in mind, these four types in mind, then we are practicing diligence. Buddha has said that nothing is difficult for those who are diligent. So the very good image is in nature where you have a dripping water. The water drip every few seconds, and then over hundreds of years, maybe, it actually drill a hole on the rock below, right? So water is so soft, and rock is so hard. One of the most famous type of rock in China is called 洞庭石. Is from at this famous lake in China. The rock there is very special. It's a different shaped, but there's so many holes in the rock, so it becomes very sought after as a decoration in Chinese gardens. A small one like this could be thousands of dollars, US dollars. So all these holes, where do they come from? They come from the water. They come from the water. The water make all these holes in the rock. That's diligence. Okay, let's look at effort, right? We're putting a lot of effort. That's diligence. But there's mindless effort, there's smart effort, and there's mindful effort. Yeah? Let's look at them. Mindless effort, repeating the same effort without really understanding anything. So you do it because they tell you to do it. So you do it day after day after day after day, you do it. You could be really diligent. I mean, you get your work done. You're responsible. But your mind is not there. You don't understand why you do it. You don't think about, how can I improve the process? Make it more efficient. Yeah? All right, so that leads to smart effort. Smart effort is finding smarter, more efficient ways to accomplish your task. So smart effort can save you a lot of effort, right? So for example, study. If you're smart in studying, whether it's science or medicine or literature or the Dharma, if you're not good at this, you could be studying 8 hours and not get very far. But if you have a system, if you know how to pick up the important points, you have a way of learning, then that's smart effort. So one of the things that we do is, so say, let's pause for 5 minutes and review what you have just learned. That is one of the important method to learn something without forgetting it, is that you keep it in your mind and you're organizing your mind. So for example, what are the four types of exertion that constitute how we practice diligence. So here in your mind, without looking at your notes, you say, okay, I remember. It's something about not letting the bad thoughts arise and then cut off or destroy the bad thoughts, and then actively, proactively bring out the wholesome thoughts. And then for those who are already present, how do we do even more? How do we nurture it? How do we make it more influential, right? So you repeat, you review this. That is a way to do smart learning. Smart learning. So a person may be diligent for 2 hours. Another person also diligent in 2 hours, but learns many times more and retain it. Another way for smart learning is to put it to practice. You actually use it. All right, this mindful effort. Use the present mind in every moment. I'll give you an example. Many, many years ago when I was working, there was one point where we had a very long document, a Word document. And then something needs to be changed. I think one word needs to be replaced with another word throughout the whole document. Okay, throughout the Word file. So the next morning, one of my coworkers, he said, I finally fixed it last night. My wife went through the whole document and replaced each case herself one by one. So I thought, what? You don't know about find and replace? The find and replace function in Word or in any text processing tool, right? So they didn't know. They didn't know that. So that would be an example of not smart effort. She may be quite mindful, going through the document, finding each case, right? It took a long time. But it's not necessarily bad. You know, in our modern world, we always we push for efficiency, we push to get better and faster and do more. And now we don't have any time to ourselves. Yeah. So I remember years ago, when cell phone became really popular, when many people are finding out they don't have off hours anymore. They are on call 24 hours, not just doctors. The real estate agents, they are 24 hours on call. They have the day, so their client can call them any time of the day. So they had to be diligent, but then that's not necessarily a good thing, right? So mindful effort becomes important. Just recently, I heard a disciple saying that she is having a personal day every week. So that one day, remember earlier we said we encourage you to sign up for the no internet, no screen hour. Yeah, we would like you to participate, and not too many people sign up yet. We have dozens of people, but now not enough. Anyway, so 3 hours or 2 hours before you go to sleep, quit internet and quit computers and just meditate or actually read a real book or do walking meditation. Anyway, so this person was saying that she wants to have a one day out to herself. So I assume that means no looking at the no responding to the messages and not working. Personal day for her own spiritual, mental sanity. which is really good. I think that's really good. I think we all need that. That's what Sunday is supposed to be, right? A day for the spirit, a day to stop, a day for reflection. So actually, I do that all the time. I have days where I just don't respond to any messages and nobody can reach me. All right, so the point is that the lady who helped her husband going through the whole document, replacing each word one by one manually, how is that different from doing walking meditation or observing the breath? So we're doing something repetitive. We're not trying to get efficiency out of this. Yeah, if you do try to you do walking meditation, you walk in circles, you don't go anywhere. You don't go anywhere. You watch the breath, you don't make any money out of that. You don't get any, office work done. But it's still important. Repetitive action, simple repetitive action actually could be a good thing too if you're mindful. So what is the key to diligence? So diligence in action versus diligence in mind. That's also two concepts we want to learn. Diligence in action means, for example, you meditate physically, you're sitting down for 4 hours a day. Or that's diligence, right? It's called diligence in action. But in that 4 hours, how many minutes in that 4 hours would you actually mindful? We actually, your mind is in the present, you're totally clear on what you should be doing, and you're doing it. You're totally observing the breath, and you're not thinking about other things. And when your mind stray away, you bring it back quickly. How many minutes were you actually mindful in that 4 hours? See, so diligence in mind is what we're aiming after. Not necessarily efficiency, not necessarily getting a lot of work done, but how you live each moment. How you live each moment with either a wholesome state of mind or a, a, a still, calm, clear, not stressed, totally at peace, totally at ease with yourself. A moment where the ego self is not commanding you, where your emotions are not commanding you, right? That's diligence in mind is actually what brings you closer, much closer to enlightenment than others. Grandmaster Wei Jie, my Shifu, says the ultimate intelligence is no thought. No thought. Just pure knowing. Pure knowing. Pure awareness. No judgment. No stress. Not even a single thought. That's a very Chan, very Zen way of looking at diligence. All right, question. Oh no, I ran out of time. Okay, we'll look at this next time then. Let us put our palms together. First, make your own dedication. May the merits from our wholesome deed of studying the Dharma diligently for these 2 hours together with each other, and learning from Shifu and learning from the three jewels and learning from each other. May the merits from this effort be dedicated to all of you, all the participants, all of your family and friends, and all sentient beings, bringing us closer to enlightenment. And may the merits help eradicate the bad karma and the suffering. And we dedicate the merits to peace. Okay, there was a question about are there ways to remotely volunteer for Shifu? Yes, definitely. Since we're out of time, why don't we talk about this first thing next class? Okay, I'll give you some opportunities for those who are willing to help Shifu in volunteer work. Okay, we'll see you next time.
Palms together. We thank Jiahhu Shifu with 3 half bows.
1 half bow to the Buddha.
阿弥陀佛。
Okay, see you all next time.